You know what I have a problem with today in the NBA? I hate the amount of back-to-backs that are going on, which causes players to get injured more, and it also makes the NBA a lot more unfair. Watch the video to find out exactly why I think this. So hello! Welcome back to another video today on 4-Foot Friday. And today we will be talking about the amount of back-to-backs and why this is one of the NBA's biggest problems. It's crazy to think that, teams are playing these games and then they're getting fined by the NBA. However, if you play one night and then the next day after that you play another game, it risks a lot more injuries. And it also makes for the NBA to be unfair in terms of record and in terms of the NBA's scheduling. It doesn't make sense. So we're going to get into two topics today. We're going to get into the problem of players getting injured, and we're going to get into the problem of the statistics and looking at each record and how this could be affected by it. So if we look at, in terms of injuries, you look at it and you think, it's not that bad. You play a game after. But if a player is playing in this NBA, which is one of the most physical leagues in the NBA, and you're playing day in, day out, just imagine if you played 2 games in a row, right? You would be absolutely killed. Your body would be aching, and and then at that time you'd kind of just give in and get injured. So it needs to be more spread out, because I don't want, players like Derrick Rose, who have so much potential, getting injured and being only 28 years old. We should be saying he's a all-star player, but instead we're saying he's a washed up, an MVP who's just washed up now and not playing well. And he could be the first MVP not to make it into the Hall of Fame because of the fact that injuries took over his career. So that's the problem I have with injuries. Moving with the injuries factor too, you have to add the fact that Coach Greg Popovich, remember that one game where it was multiple games too, where he rested Kawhi Leonard, he rested Danny Green, I think LaMarcus Aldridge he rested too, and maybe even Pau Gasol. As much as the fans don't want it, and the fans want their good players to play every single game, here's the problem. If you can't just expect a 30-year-old LaMarcus Aldridge to play and not get tired, and he doesn't want to risk Kawhi Leonard going down with an injury, because guess what? If Kawhi Leonard goes down with an injury, he's not going to be able to play even more games. But that's to an injury. So the factor is, you'd rather have a player skip a game, and that means he has no chance of getting injured in that game where he had the back-to-back. So that's what doesn't make sense to me. And then, as much as the fans can complain, the fans shouldn't be complaining about teams and how they, about how the teams are not allowing these players to, skip a back-to-back night. It should be the fans talking to the NBA about how they should have a more spread out season. Limit the preseason games, push it back a little bit. The problem is, maybe you have summer league cut into a little bit of free agency and just have stuff cut into each other. You don't need one thing after another, after another, after another, after another, after another, and it can go on and on and on. You just need to limit the season so you can spread the games out more, so you don't have to go, back to back. You go. And we can even look at this in depth. In terms of how this might affect the schedule of NBA teams. The highest amount of back-to-back games, 19 Atlanta Hawks. The lowest, Oklahoma City Thunder with 13 games. Just imagine the Thunder and the Hawks, how much that would affect the standings. Because if you look at it, that's a possible 6 more games that the Atlanta Hawks might lose because they have to rest their players, or they have to they won't play as well on that back-to-back night, while the Thunder only have to do that 13 times. The 13 times maybe Russell Westbrook sitting and making sure he doesn't get injured. However, would you rather do that 13 times or 19 times? It's a risk of losing 13 times, or it's a risk of losing 19 times, and that completely affects the score, or the playoffs, I mean, because it's really the 6 games is the difference between a playoff team and a team that's in the lottery, getting a lottery pick. So the Clippers, again, 18. The Bucks, 18. The Kings, 18. That's just unfair how they're getting, at least if you're going to have back-to-back games, make it all 14. Every team in the league gets 14, The Nets and the Timberwolves, they're getting 14, So if you make it so it's all one number, then it would at least be a little better. But what I think they should do is make sure that the season doesn't, it doesn't go so far that it's unfair to the players, and it's unfair to the fans, it's unfair to the coaches. It's unfair to everyone in the league, and then someone ends up getting fined from it, even though they shouldn't have got fined, because it's the NBA's fault. It's the NBA scheduling fault that they cannot make sure that the season is more expanded so that, it's not one after another and another after another and another after another. You don't, as much as we want to see teams go night in, night out, we don't want to see teams risking our best players in the league getting injured. We don't want to see another, a player like Karl Anthony Towns with so much potential, a player like Devin Booker, so much potential. Even a player like Porzingis, so much potential. Even Kyrie Irving, he's 25. But if they go down with an injury, they don't have that same potential anymore. So that's just something to think video. So yeah, thank you for watching, and have an amazing day.